What's up, guys? It's Techno Viking 23 coming to you today with some Raid Shadow Legends, and we've got this special Fire Night tournament going on using members of the Corrupted Alliance. So I wanted to build kind of a fun team for this, just to kind of see what they could do. Now, my usual team on Fire Night 20 is 2 Cold Hearts, Lydia, Renegade, and Seer. I do the Wave Nuke reset with Renegade. Renegade would work for this event since she's a Night Revenant, but unfortunately I was having trouble getting a team working, still keeping her in it that was consistent. So I actually decided to do something kind of fun. I said, you know what, the HEX Debuff is hardly ever talked about, it's hardly ever used. Well, let's bring in Huntmaster Ruel because he is actually strong affinity here in Fire Night 20. Let's go ahead and bring in Mithrala as well, since she does have the AoE Hex that she can place that can help Ruel do a lot more damage. We got Cold Heart, obviously, who's an MVP for this boss, and then we also have Lydia is the team we're going to be putting together here. This team is fairly consistent, right around a minute runs, and my gear here is not really that great when it comes to the Savage and the Cruel gear and the crit damage. So I know there's a lot better players out there who could probably get a team like this close to the 30 or 40 second mark if they had good enough gear. But just kind of a fun team to use. I did try to bring in some other Hex options. We'll talk about those a little bit later in the video when we go in and talk about the gear and everything with the champions. I'll show you guys the AI setup that I used for this to make it work as well. But overall, kind of a really cool team, a lot of fun. Ruel hits really hard with his A2, especially if the Hex is already up. You can see Mithrala there puts out that AoE Hex so that Ruel can go ahead and just nuke everybody. The only problem is with him is my gear, like I said, is not great, so we have some inconsistency with when he nukes the waves, whether or not he actually wipes them all. If he can get through that wave 1 in one hit, then it usually runs a little bit faster. We did use Thea the Tomb Angel, tried to experiment with her a little bit. I did get some faster runs with that team. Unfortunately, it wasn't 100% consistent, so I could use it for auto battles. I wanted something a little bit more consistent. And that's really the main drawback with the HEX debuff, is that it's just so hard to set it up to where you can get consistent use out of it, where it's effective. But I think we did pretty good here. I mean, a minute for Fire Night 20 is pretty solid anyways. It's not as fast as my my usual team is about 37 to 45 seconds, depending on how it gets through. But a minute's still pretty good. It's an easy auto farm to get up to the top points to get the Void Shard. In the event, we'll take a look at that tournament leaderboard and everything a little bit later. But I just wanted to do something a little bit, I want to say kind of more creative. I wanted to make use of that HEX debuff because I don't see a lot of people talking about it and a lot of people going through the possible options for this. I don't think I really saw anybody mention using Mithrala for Fire Night, so it's kind of cool to be able to bring her in here and make use of her. She's a really great champion, really worth doing Hydra, just to get her unlocked and be able to use her in a lot of different content. And so this whole thing is speed tuned. I spent a couple hours working on all that to make sure everything would work. We had to switch some gear around, and like I said, unfortunately wasn't able to quite hit the crit damage numbers that I really would like to have, which could actually make this almost a viable Fire Night speed team for me to use on my account. But I think we did pretty good here. Like I said, a minute's not bad, pretty good time. And what we're going to do here in just a minute, once they get done with this run here, is we will go ahead and jump in and take a look at the tune that we have set up for the AI presets. We're also going to take a look at the speeds and all the gear for the different champs. And then what we'll do at the end is we'll actually talk about some other options in these factions, because I think these are probably the 4 best factions to do this event with. Obviously, there's just a ton of really good champions. Unfortunately, a lot of them are legendaries and epics. There's a couple rares here and there that are pretty good for this, but you kind of do have to have some of the stronger champions if you want to go ahead and do this pretty effectively. So let's jump in and check out the AI presets, then we'll go through all the gear and everything, and then if you guys have any questions at the end, you can leave them down in the comments section. Alright guys, I'm going to show you the setup for the team here that I was using. We do have Ruel the Huntmaster in the lead, mainly to provide that crit rate aura to help everybody out a little bit if they're not quite crit capped, and for that reason he's not actually crit capped. We've got him at 84, so we try to get a little bit of extra crit damage into his gear. We'll take a look at the gear here in just a minute, but just to show you how he is running, we basically got him set up to use Unleash the Hunt as the opener. This is the one that gets the extra hit on the enemies under HEX debuff and also ignores extra defense, so pretty strong attack there for him. Round 2, we actually have him opening up with the Stalk Prey, and then this usually takes a little bit to recharge, so he'll have that usually on his 2nd or 3rd turn, unless he gets any type of cooldown reset from his gear. I don't think I have any refresh gear on him, and if I did, it wouldn't work anyway, so I wouldn't really be counting on it too much. Now, for The Fire Knight himself, we just have him going with the A1, just to keep attacking with a single target one there, because we really just need him for our first couple of hits there. Now, Lydia the Death Siren, we're going to go Siren's Wail off on round 1, because actually with all the Hex debuffs up on the enemies, Ruel can usually nuke that wave without decreased defense and weaken, which is pretty nice. Round 2, we have her open with it, but then turn it off, because what I noticed would happen with her is if anybody survived the nuke, there'd be like 2 or 3 people left that would still have a turn of decreased defense left on them, and she would use Siren's Wail again, even though it wasn't needed. So I only have her use it on the opening turn. Then we turn it off so she has it available. For the Fire Knight, she's going to lead off with Nullification here, which is going to hit the shield twice, which is going to help us get it down quicker. We actually have Nullification turned off in round 2, so she'll have it up and ready to go. Round 3, after that, it's basically default. She'll use her decreased defense once the shield is down, which is pretty good, instead of throwing it into that shield. Thankfully, I didn't have to do much with her build. This is kind of my arena build with her, with speed and accuracy and everything. She's in my team I use, my speed nuke team, so I thankfully did not have to mess with her gear at all. My Cold Hearts are fairly similar, 176 speed on one, 173 on the other. That's basically so they go right after each other to hit that shield and get it down in the end. They're both actually set up exactly the same. We have no Heart Seeker in round 1 or 2, and then in round 3 we have no Art of Pain set up. They're going to lead off with Flurry of Arrows. It's going to get us 8 hits on that shield really quickly and open it up for that decreased defense. And then she'll use her Heart Seeker right after that to take down the Fire Knight. So again, both Cold Hearts are built pretty much the same in that regard. And we have Mithrala. So round 1, we're going to have her lead off with Sigil of Toxic Glory. This is going to put those Hex debuffs on all the enemies. It's also going to give an increased attack buff on everybody, so they can all hit a little bit harder here. It's going to help Ruel to nuke down that wave. Round 2 is basically default. Round 3, we have everything turned off, so she's just going to go with that 2-hitter to get some extra hits on that shield at first, so we can get to those Cold Hearts a little bit faster. So that's pretty much the way we have it all set up. We'll go into the champs here and take a look at how they are built out. Now, that's the one thing here I will say about this is if I had a lot better gear, this could probably be a 30 to 40 second team. So somebody out there who has some insane crit damage gear, some really good savage gear, could probably really roll through Fire Knight with a good team here using that using the Hex stuff between Ruel and Mithrala. So we've got Lydia here, fairly standard speed and accuracy. We got her in Perception, Divine Speed. I believe she's in an accuracy banner. Yep. I can show you masteries here for her. We did go all the way down and take the accuracy mastery there. That's, like I said, I use her mainly in Arena and Doom Tower, so that's kind of how I have her built out. We've got Mithrala here, who I also use in Doom Tower and on Hydra, so she's got a kind of an interesting build there. We got her at 238 speed, 667 accuracy, since she does get extra resistance for that accuracy. We're not really caring too much about her damage or anything else there. She's really just there to place that consistent Hex debuff to help Ruel do a bit more damage. You can see her masteries here, in case you're curious. I do believe I have booked her out as well. She's definitely worth the books. Definitely worth doing Hydra to get her if you can. She's really, really solid. And when I was trying to figure out who I could get to do the consistent Hex to set up Ruel, you know, I forgot she had the Hex, quite honestly. I was trying to use Thea the Tomb Angel. We'll talk about that in a second. And I was getting that to work, but it just wasn't very consistent, and it was getting kind of annoying. So I was like, man, there's got to be an AoE Hex. That's really the problem with the Hex debuff in general. It requires so much specific setup that if you don't have the right ability with it, it makes it tough, because Ruel can't do his he's got to kind of reset. If you have a Kymar, Ruel can be amazing. Sadly, we don't have Kymar on this account. We've got him on the free-to-play, of course, but Ruel is absolutely ridiculous if you have Kymar to reset it so he can put out his Hex and then nuke. But unfortunately, we don't have that ability here, so we had to go with somebody to set up that Hex for him. So you can then see Ruel here. We actually did manage to get him in a Savage set since we didn't have to hit the 100% crit rate due to his aura. We got him in Savage and Cruel. It's still not great. My gear in that department is kind of lacking. We only got him at 243% crit damage. And he's at 5100 attack, plus he gets that attack boost from Mithrala as well, which is kind of nice. That's what I was saying. If you've got really, really strong Savage gear that you could put on him, you can probably clear this a lot faster. Same with your Cold Hearts. There's the masteries. We do have him in Helm Smasher there. And we can take a look at our 2 Cold Hearts we are using here. This is actually I could probably re-gear her into Savage. I actually did try it with the Outfitter, but I couldn't get a set to work that would give her any higher crit damage than what she's got already. She's at 298. And I would try to drop the crit rate down to 60 since we do, or actually down to 50 since we do get that boost from Ruel. But we still couldn't get a good build where her crit damage was going to be over 300. So I just said, forget it. I don't want to tear apart my Cold Hearts I use on my Spider teams anyways. We did actually re-gear this Cold Heart into Savage and Cruel. But it didn't really help. We couldn't hit that, we only got 273 on there. Like, if you can get over 300% crit damage, you could definitely speed this run up. Because our Cold Hearts, the problem is they're very inconsistent when they hit hard on that Heart Seeker, and if they could just do a bit more damage on each one of those, it would definitely speed up this run. Probably get it down under that 40-second range if we could, but unfortunately, I just didn't have the gear to make it work. That's why I wanted to kind of show this off a little bit. So someone out there has better gear, they might be able to actually do something with this and get this team to work really, really well. I'll go ahead and talk about Thea the Tomb Angel really quick here. We kind of brought her in to see if we could use her to set up Ruel, and then I wound up actually doing it the opposite way. I'll throw up a screenshot. I've got a couple of screenshots from the times I ran it with them, and they actually were able to get it work, but I couldn't get it to go 100%, whereas the team with Mithrala is pretty consistent. I haven't seen it fail yet, so we're doing pretty well with that one. Thea is a champion that I really, really want to like. She's got an amazing design. You get her from Hard Doom Tower, so you do have to put in a little bit of work to get her. But it's like her kit just, I don't know, I think it just sucks. I wish Plarium had designed it a little bit better. The problem is the ability that she puts Hex out with is a 2x at random attack. So it's kind of annoying because she can't set Ruel up with that. She can only hit 2 people with it. And then he can only do his big bomb if it's on more than 4. It's going to get that extra defense ignore. So she's not really a great setup champion for the Hex. Now, Hex Reaper can hit really, really hard. So what I was doing with her was the opposite. I actually had Ruel go before her. I had him use his A3 to put the Hex out on everybody, and then she would lead off with Hex Reaper. And basically that was enough for her to be able to nuke that first wave, and then wave 2 would take a little bit longer to get through, so we'd have to reset the Hex for Ruel to go, but then he'd have his nuke ready. So it was working pretty well, but just like I said, not very consistent with getting through those waves quickly. And that's really why I really am disappointed with Thea. It's kind of annoying. She's got this, places Perfect Veil, and then grants her the extra turn, which then she'll usually use her A2. I think her kit would have been awesome, especially since she's a Doom Tower hard champion. What they should have done was they should have made this an AoE Hex on her A3 with the extra turn, so she could place the Hex and then immediately drop the Hex Reaper as the nuke. So instead, because she has such a weak placement of the Hex on her kit, it kind of sucks for her setting up somebody else. That's why we wound up just going with Mithrala to do this. But this gave me some ideas to try some other champions on Fire Knight 20 because Cleopteryx, I believe, has got the AoE Hex as well. And I think her and Ruel could ping pong off each other since they both do that extra damage with that Hex up. So could be some cool stuff to try there. I may do a video about that later on. But of course, for this event, we have to use the Corrupted Alliance, so you have to stick with the champions in the Dark Elves, Night Revenant, and then I'm having a brain fart on who the other ones were because I'm so tired after actually sitting here and doing this. So let me just run out to the main menu and we'll look at that because I, honest to God, don't remember. I've been working on this event for a couple hours and my brain's kind of shot at this point. So. Corrupted Alliance. So you got Demon Spawn, Undead, Dark Elves, and Night Rev. So these are 4 really strong factions to do this event with. Of course, we could do a team with Renegade if we wanted to reset the cooldowns, but I really wasn't having much luck with that with the Hex. I really wanted to use Hex just to show that it can be effective for this, but you really kind of need the Kymar to make it work to the best of its ability, plus a little bit better gear than what I have. But there are a lot of great champions for doing this. You've got Duchess, obviously, she's going to have a 2-hit on the A1 when you get to the Fire Knight Shield. You've got Allure, who's the absolute MVP here. I think for the team I was thinking about, there is a newer... Here she is, Urticata. She's got Hex, but I can't remember how hers sets up. I have her built, but yeah, again, it's a 4-time random, so that really wouldn't help us out much. We really need that consistency that Mithrala brings to the table. With that Hex placement. But you got a lot of great champions in these factions if you need them. Even like if you're really struggling and just want to do the event, Drextar's got a 3-hit A1 that he can use to help you take that shield down. He's got Provoke to help on the waves. He can hit pretty hard. There's a lot of different champions. I tried to think of some creative teams for this, but it seems like most of them wound up using the heavy hitters. You got a little bit of Little Miss Annie's got some turn meter stuff, but it really requires a ton of setup to use. You know, so you kind of wind up having to use some of the more powerful champions. I wanted to try something with Karam with a poison explosion, but the setup was just too complicated, so we didn't even really worry about it. Stitch Beast is a rare honorable mention just to help you get through Fire Night. If you are struggling, like I said, if you just kind of need some bare bones options to try to do this event, he's actually a halfway decent champion. For that, Dark Elves, obviously, you know, you've got a ton here. You have, obviously, Coldheart, who is just the MVP for Fire Night, bringing that shield down and hitting big with the Heartseeker. Kale can even do a little bit of work on Fire Night 20 with some of his multi-hitters, and he's got a little bit of turn meter there. Sylar's decent on the waves. She's got a little bit of turn meter for the boss, but it's not super effective there. But you got a lot of different champions here. The Dark Kale's not bad. I got a couple Visix. You know, again, if you're free to play or if you're looking for that budget option, you just take Visix in there. And actually, when you get to the third wave on the Fire Knight, turn off her A2 and her A3. Her AI is really stupid. So if you're on the Fire Knight and he's got his shield down, she'll actually use her A2 or her A3 instead of removing his turn meter. So you would just want her using that A1 nonstop all the time. So that's another good budget option if you're looking for one. Ruel, like we saw, you know, this guy's actually really, really strong. Even without the Hex, he can hit pretty hard, but with that Hex, he absolutely smacks. Blind Seer's pretty good, again, if you're looking for a sturdier team. If you have to have problems surviving the wave, she's got the revive to block damage, and then she's got the 3-hitter on the A1. Lydia, of course, is really strong here. And then Mithrala and Visix we talked about already. Honorable mention, I would probably get punched if I didn't mention Queen Ava. A lot of people think she's just a campaign farmer, but I have seen one of my friends do some absolutely insane stuff with Queen Ava. She's actually pretty ridiculous when you get down to it. So she's actually worth a look. Wave just clears waves like nobody's business. It's pretty amazing. You got Ghostborn, really strong here too. And unfortunately, I don't have either of them. I don't have Zabia either. If you have Zabia, you can do some poison explosion stuff. So lots of options in the Dark Elves. You got Night Rev. They got quite a few here. I'm missing like most of the legendaries here. I haven't pulled Tomb Drain yet, but Tomb Lord is halfway decent here. He does have the multi-hitter, but his problem is his turn meter reduction ability. He'll throw it into the shield. His AI is pretty stupid. It's just like Visix. They need to do a fix with him. And Septimus, actually, for when they use their abilities to not use them into the shield. But you got a couple of good options here. And another good budget rare, even though he is negative affinity, since he is an HP champion, you could build him pretty tanky. And if you need help getting that shield out, you can actually bring in Coffin Smasher and use him there. Obviously, you know, Renegade is really strong for resetting those cooldowns. So you got a couple good options here. There's good options all over the place. These factions kind of have a wealth of good Fire Knight champions. So hopefully you guys can come up with something that's going to help you come through here and win this Kale skin. Let's go check on our tournament real quick here. If it'll load up here. So Fire Night tournament, I think we're probably going to be in second because there was a guy in front of me that was pushing pretty hard. But one of the interesting things I noticed is no one is doing this. Even though this is probably the easiest one in terms of having the most available champions to do it with. So just got this guy in first. I'm probably going to go all the way up to get the Void Shard, and that's going to be it. I really feel bad getting the fragments when I already have the skin. So if somebody else is pushing for it, I try to let them get it. So if this guy needs it, I'm going to let him get first, but I really would, you know, want to go up and get the Void Shard, and then I'll probably just call off the dogs at that point, unless, you know, you can only get the 6-star Relentless for first place, and like I said, I don't really want to take the skin away from somebody if they need it, so we'll kind of just play it by ear and see how it goes. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below in the comments. I'll do my best to get you an answer as soon as I can. As always, hope you guys are having a great day. Thanks as always for watching, and I will see you again next time.